We're going to do a boned and rolled English shoulder of lamb with a honey and rosemary seasoning. What we need to do first is to remove some of the external fat. Shoulder of lamb always carries a little bit of fat. It's a tasty joint. It's one of the cheaper joints that you could get, purely and simply because it's the front end of the animal and it's where most of the work's done when the animal was alive. All this fat needs to be taken off. Otherwise it's just the worst thing in the world to have a mouthful of fat when you're enjoying a nice dish. So let's take out on this side. This is the external part of the shoulder. I'm going to turn it over. And there's big nodules of fat here. There are natural seams that you can follow to take the fat out, so that way you're not cutting into it. Because obviously what you don't want is when you're carving a shoulder of lamb or any joint, is because you've mutilated it while you're preparing it, it'll all fall apart in the carving, and there's nothing worse. So, okay, just a bit more there. So as you can see, there's quite a bit of fat on the shoulder, but take it from me, it eats lovely. Okay, so the first bone we remove is the shank. Now, you can take off the shank completely and use it for another dish. Characteristically, people normally use the hindquarter shank from a lamb to do a dish, but you can use the forequarter shank. But I prefer to bone it out and leave it in the boned and rolled joint. We've got to expose the bone on either side. There's a sinew here. And then you'll come to a joint where the lamb shank is. I'm giving you 32 years of experience in the meat trade here. The shank of lamb, what we need to do now is cut loose the meat around the joint here. So when we go from the other end, it's nice and loose. Now we're going to take out the blade bone. Again, there's a natural seam here. We'll be taking some of this fat out later. Now, you can always tell if you've been sold an old shoulder of lamb. Here, although this is bone, this is still gristle. That needs to become ossified. The older the animal, the more it becomes ossified, and there's less of that collagen there, which gives away the age of the meat. Ossified is a word that's used when cartilage turns to bone. The older the animal, the more bone presence and less collagen presence. Now, I'm going to pull that off, and that's your blade bone. Here we have a ball joint. We need to cut round the ball joint. Always feeling for the bone, using a knife as an extension of your finger. Feel the bone. You can hear it there. And then hold it upright, holding the ball joint in your hand. Feel for the bone with the knife, pushing down, and because you've loosened it from the other end as I showed you earlier, you should be able to just pull it out. And there you go. Not bad, bit rusty, nice and clean. That's it. Now we've boned it out and we've got to take away some of the surplus fat on the inside. So when we roll it and you carve it, you don't have any problems. You should be able to follow the natural seams and it should pull away quite comfortably. What we're going to do now, we're going to park this to one side and we're going to get into the seasoning. Okay. As you can see, now we've boned it and taken away most of the fat, the unwanted fat. It's considerably smaller.